Welcome, welcome everyone. I hope you're enjoying your day at our lovely cemetery on this fine day. You know, in my day, cemeteries were much, much different. Why, folks treated cemeteries much as you would treat a park. On a nicer day than this, they would come and visit Granny and Grandpa's grave, open a picnic lunch, and spend the day with fine talk, food, and sometimes even entertainment. Now, we were strong Christians back then, and we saw death on a daily basis. And our faith in the afterlife, it was much more keen than it is today. Why, we treated the cemetery as a place of both sorrow and joy. Now, I am a man who was born too early to fight in the Civil War, but a man who remembers it all well. I am a man who had a fascination with the memorializing of the departed, and a man who spent a lifetime building monuments to honor the dead. Why, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, and that won't serve you well. I am William S. Tuttle, the son of Sidney and Sarah Tuttle. I was born April 12th, 1851, and I was raised mostly up in North Bolton. My folks had 5 children: Helen, Lillian, Jay, Roxy, and myself. Helen, she was married to W.K. Bixby of the St. Louis Bixbys, of the Bixby Mansion in Bolton. Lillian, she married George Cronkite. Jay and his wife Mary, they tended a farm up in Bolton. Roxy, she was a maiden school teacher right here in the city of Glens Falls, lived over on Ackley Street. Why, eventually she became the superintendent of Ridge Street Schools. Now, I ventured off to Glens Falls following my older sister Roxy, and at the age of 19 I took up residence over on J Street. I got work around town as a laborer, and one day I got called up to do some stone cutting. My boss, he said I had a talent there. Well, I worked hard for him for a number of years, and eventually I saved up enough money. I bought that business right over there on Bay Street in those gray buildings. Now, it was hard work in the marble and stone business, and I got well known for my skill. Times, they were pretty good to me. Stone cutting paid me well. So eventually, it became time to take a wife. And in 1878, I met and married Sarah Thomas. She took up housekeeping with me and started having our children. Sadly, our first child, Sidney, here, died at 3 months. We mourned his death. But after about a year, we decided to try again. And in 1881, our lovely daughter Edith was born. And 9 years later, our son Luther. Why, it was around the time Edith was born that I bought the business right over there. We moved into the house right next door. It was large enough to raise a family, and I could easily take my meals at home. So life was pretty perfect for me. I worked hard at my business, received great praise for my work. I was artistic and creative with heavy marble and granite rocks. Why, by 1900, I had hired John Jones, who just lived down the street on William Street. And Andrew Thomas, Sarah's much younger brother. He moved out of his folks' home in Warrensburg and came to live with us, just until he got married. Why, my advertising in 1900 touted the $5,000 worth of granite and marble we had in stock. Stones from Scotland and Sweden. Marble from nearby Quincy, Massachusetts and Barre, Vermont. I told the world, you will find in stock, ready to letter and set on short notice, $5,000 worth of marble and granite. I was a great success. I spent my days and nights right here in this small little area of Glens Falls, either cutting stone across the street or tending and working the monuments over here in the Bay Street Cemetery. Why, I'm responsible for many of the fine stones you see here. The Goodmans, the Fowlers, the Ordways and the Coolidges, to name a few. But my greatest work? Henry Crandall's granite shaft monument over in Crandall Park. Why, many, many photos and postcards have been made of that monument. And it's still a landmark today. Alas, stone cutting is hard on a man. And in 1905, my health began to fail. Just 54 years old, and I had had it. So, I signed the business over to Sarah's brother, Andrew. I kept an interest, and we moved to a large farm at the end of East Sanford Street, where we raised onions and celery to sell to the local populace. I lived until November 13th, 1911. I was 60. When I died, son Luther was off serving in the U.S. Navy. Edith was married to Robert Brayman and raising a family. It was after I died that the Braymans moved in with Sarah on East Sanford Street, where she lived until she joined me here in 1939. Any guesses where the stone came from? Andrew and his family, they sold monuments across the street for over 80 years. And when his son Coolidge Thomas took over the business and partnered with Forrest King, they renamed the business Paramount Memorials. I want to thank you all for visiting me here today and allowing me to tell you a little bit about myself. Perhaps you'll think of me the next time you see the Henry Crandall Monument. Enjoy the rest of your day, and God bless.